But in the series of great books, enjoying great books, we have one of the great books of psychology, of self development, of coping, of, I would say, courage. Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. And let's start right away. According to a principle, we will not spend more than 5 minutes per video. And the first chapter is actually a very terrible chapter. Part one is experiences in a concentration camp. Experiences in a concentration camp. This is part one. This book does not claim to be an account of facts and events, but of personal experiences. He is focusing. Experiences which millions of prisoners have suffered time and again. It is the inside story of a concentration camp, told by one of its survivors. This tale is not concerned with the great horrors which have already been described often enough, though less often believed, but with the multitude of small torments. In other words, it will try to answer this question. It will try to answer this question. How was everyday life in a concentration camp reflected in the mind of the average prisoner? I repeat, how was everyday life in a concentration camp reflected in the mind of the average prisoner? Most of the events described here did not take place in the large and famous camps, but in the small ones, where most of the real extermination took place. This story is not about the suffering and death of great heroes and martyrs, nor is it about the prominent Kapos, prisoners who acted as trustees, having special privileges, or well known prisoners. Thus, it is not so much concerned with the sufferings of the mighty, but with the sacrifices, the crucifixion, and the deaths of the great army of unknown and unrecorded victims. It was these common prisoners who bore no distinguishing marks on their sleeves, whom the Kapos really despised. Despised, they thought they were lesser people. While these ordinary prisoners had little, while these ordinary prisoners had little or nothing to eat, little or nothing to eat, the Kapos was never hungry. In fact, many of the Kapos fared better in the camp than they had in their entire lives. Often they were harder on the prisoners than were the guards and beat them more cruelly than the SS men did. These Capos, CAPOS, of course, were chosen only from those prisoners whose characters promised to make them suitable for such procedures. And if they did not comply with what was expected of them, they were immediately demoted. They soon became much like the SS men, obviously, and the camp wardens and the camp wardens, and may be judged on a similar psychological basis. It is easy for the outsider to get the wrong conception of camp life, a conception mingled with sentiment and pity. Little does he know of the hard fight for existence which raged among the prisoners. So, obviously, this book is a crazy, eye opening book. This was an unrelenting struggle for daily bread and for life itself, for one's own sake or for that of a good friend. This is suffering, no? Let us take the case of a transport which was officially announced to transfer a certain number of prisoners to another camp. But it was a fairly safe guess that its final destination would be the gas chambers. A selection of sick or feeble prisoners incapable of work would be sent to one of the big central camps, which were fitted with the gas chambers and crematoriums. The selection process was the signal for a free fight among all the prisoners or of group against group. All that mattered was that one's own name and that of one's friend were crossed off the list of victims. Though everyone knew that for each man saved, another victim had to be found. And we'll stop here. This is 5 minutes completed. And I think it is very important to read such great classic books. Heart wrenching book, this is. Slowly. We've completed 5 minutes. We'll go to the next as to what happened. The videos are will be in a line, and you can see them uh, as and when you feel like, and study them. They are worth studying. Thank you.